So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Zen 101 as the title of tonight's talk, it's the title that's been given for when we share our story of how we came to be in this practice. My initial intro into the Buddhist tradition came about sort of by accident. In a pivotal time in my life, I was coming out of some self-induced isolation, and I found myself craving community. I decided to seek out some classes that would put me into a space with some like-minded people. My friend Erin was teaching intro to meditation classes, and with each week offering a different style of meditation. I believe it was the third class I attended that was dedicated to Zazen. That was where meditation finally clicked for me. Where I had previously been struggling, it all fell into place. This aha moment in the Zen style of meditation led me to start looking into some of the basic principles and finding myself really resonating with the fundamental concepts I was discovering. One thing I found was a struggle for me, though, was the level of commitment I felt was needed to have a meaningful practice. Newly single mom at the time, working 2 jobs to stay afloat, time was a hot commodity. Then I was introduced to the Plum Village Tradition and began to open my heart deeply to Thay's teachings. Although I felt I was getting closer to what I've been longing for, I was feeling a division. I felt as though I had to let go of one part of me in sacrifice for another. One evening, I made some time to sit with some silence. I reached for one of my oracle card decks, hoping for some inspiration. The card I pulled was very fitting, and it said, "Torn between 2 worlds." So I used that as the topic for my meditation. And during that sit, the realization came to me that thinking I had to make time for practice was an imaginary hurdle that was of my own creation. It didn't have to be all or nothing. I didn't have to choose between the 2 worlds. Thay shows us that the opportunity for mindfulness is everywhere, in everything, every day. At that time, I worked in a busy metal fab shop, usually 6 days a week, as well as a second job 3 evenings a week at another very busy fab shop. Working all the overtime was my badge of honor. So where would I fit in my practice among the long hours at work and at home with a family to care for? Everywhere, that's where. Walking from the car to the shop, matching breath, 15-minute coffee break. I would tuck away behind my machine and dedicate 5 minutes of my break to sitting with my breath. The other 10 minutes, I would try to be mindful while drinking my coffee and eating my snack. I say try because eating mindfully has been and still is one of the more challenging areas of my practice. When break was over, I would match my steps to my breath as I walked back to my workstation. I added a mindfulness bell to my phone to randomly sound and committed to stopping for one long breath each time I heard it. I realized I didn't need to make extra time for the practice. The time was already there. I was already doing all the things. Now I just needed to bring my mind and heart into these moments. I felt a new wave of hope around my success in the Plum Village tradition when I realized I didn't need to separate my 2 worlds of busy working family mom and mindfulness practitioner. There is no separation. I would manage time on the cushion on a Sunday evening sometimes, but no longer criticized myself for what I perceived as not doing it right. Mindfulness was now a part of my everyday. It brought peace into my life to have awareness around my actions. It removed me from my anxious worries of tomorrow and held me tenderly in the present moment. Now, of course, this wasn't perfect, but that's another reason this tradition feels like home for me, because perfection is never expected. That in and of itself removed the anxiety that I was previously having around what I thought my practice needed to look like. Over the past 5 years, I've stepped in and out of a consistent regular practice, with more recent months in Thousand Trees Sangha bringing me to a new level of commitment. It's been a slow growth, and I'm okay with that. It's not a race. There isn't a finish line. It's a lovely place to always come back to, with plenty of opportunity to take it as deep as I wish to go. To this day, I continue to remind myself of where it all started, and to remind myself that letting go of the strong impressions that it needs to look a certain way is the path away from suffering for me. I'm so grateful for my Sangha, bringing friendships closer, as well as cultivating new connections. It all began with a craving for community, and that really continues to be one of the most special pieces of practicing in this tradition for me. Thanks for listening to what I feel like is just the beginning of my Zen 101 story. I hope to continue to write mindfulness into my life for many years to come.